What is the paleo diet? Here's a common sense explanation for the beginner. Coming right up. Hey, I'm Dr. Ekberg with Wellness for Life, and if you like to truly master health by understanding how the body really works, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything. So paleo has become a buzzword these days, and there's a lot of confusion as usual, and what humans do best is to complicate really simple things. So if you go on some forums and you start nitpicking, before long you just go crazy. So first of all, what does it mean? Where does it come from? Why do we do it? The Paleolithic era was from about 3 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago. That's the time that humans first started making stone tools, and they got better and better at innovating things until about 10,000 years ago we started the agricultural era. So during this whole time there was no agriculture, and the humans and the humanoids were hunter-gatherers. They were walking around, they were moving their settlements, they didn't build cities. And then about 250,000 years ago we got Homo sapiens, and that's what you and I are. If you're listening to this, you are a Homo sapiens. And that means that you share the same genetic code as the people did about 250,000 years ago. We haven't had time to adapt our genetic code. It changes very slowly. So what that means is whatever they ate, they have become adapted to, and that means that's what you and I are adapted to. That's the food stuff that fits into your genes. That's what your body knows what to do with. What did they eat? They ate primarily meat, fish, and poultry. If you could hunt it or catch it or pick it, then it was food. They ate fruit, berries, vegetables, and roots, and they also had some nuts and seeds. But now we have to realize that could make the paleo diet a whole bunch of different things depending on where you lived. Did you live in the Arctic? Did you live in the tropics? Did you live in the mountains, or did you live by the coast? Are we talking summer, or are we talking winter? So it's not a single thing. There could be a huge amount of variation to it. But what's more important is to understand what we eat a whole lot of that they had none of. And now we're talking, they had no grains, they had no legumes. Those are things like peas and beans and peanuts and things like that. They had no processed foods. And now we're talking primarily sugar. And they also had no frankenfoods. And what we mean by that is that there's this tale of Dr. Frankenstein who tried to create life, making Frankenstein's monster. Well, that's kind of what we're doing with our food alteration. We're making monster food. We're making things that has disastrous effects. It didn't work for Dr. Frankenstein, and it's not working so well because we're getting sicker and sicker the more of these processed frankenfoods that we eat. And one of the worst ones is margarine, because there is nothing, it's like plastic. There's no similarity between anything nature has ever made to what margarine is. Same thing with artificial sweeteners. It is a neurotoxin, it's a chemical, and all these other chemicals, preservatives, food additives, flavor enhancers, colorings, etc. Those are frankenfoods. They're chemicals, they're poison, they have no place at all. So these are things that they never ever got, not a single ounce or gram ever. That makes it pretty clear cut that yes, there were some things they could eat and there were some things they never ate. But then the question is, do we use this as a guideline, as a template to give us some ideas and some common sense, or do we say that nothing ever changes and therefore we should treat this like religion, like a firm rule, this is the way it is? And one of the most common things that come up then is, can we have dairy? So according to the religious view, the stern, the firm view, of course we can't have any dairy because these guys didn't have it. Well, you could argue that maybe they killed an animal that they could get some milk out of, sure, but here's the way I look at it. Dairy is for mammals. Humans are mammals. It is probably the most natural food on the planet because every mammal baby starts out on mother's milk. They pretty much continue until that baby can fend for itself, until it's old enough to go out and start picking things and doing things. So for different animals, it lasts different periods of time. But most hunter-gatherer populations, breastfeeding is commonplace up until 6 or 7 years old. Not exclusively, not the only food source, but as a supplement food source. So basically at that age, they don't need it because now they're old enough to start moving around. But what that tells me is dairy is natural to humans because we are mammals and we are adapted to that food. So then we can talk about, well, should we drink the milk from other species? So yes, we should have human milk, but can we have goat's milk or cow's milk? And I believe, based on muscle testing that and clinical results, that any milk is perfectly fine as long as it is not pasteurized. That is the key because milk is alive. It's always in nature, it's always delivered straight from the source to the person eating it, to the baby. And that means it was never pasteurized, it was never processed. The pasteurization happened because they wanted to extend the shelf life. And now they turn it into a frankenfood because they kill off the enzymes and the bacteria and everything that was in there that helped you digest it, that made it alive and natural. So to me, dairy is okay, but never pasteurized. And if you make sour cream or yogurt out of it, now you bring it back to life, so now it's okay again. So once you read online about this, you quickly get very confused. And as always, everyone turns it into another diet. And does it work? Can you lose weight on it? And yes, if you eat this way, you lose so much weight. And as always, they're missing the point. It's not a diet. And we don't care if it works for weight loss. It's an understanding. It's an idea. It's a metaphor for understanding what food is suited for us, and what is non-food. What is it that's foreign and poisonous, and what is it that can sustain us? There was a guy called Weston Price who traveled the world about 100 years ago, and he found that there were populations all over the planet who were extremely healthy, who had no tooth decay, no degenerative diseases. They were doing absolutely fine. And some of them ate a lot of vegetables and some ate no vegetables. Some ate almost all fish because they lived by the coast, and some ate no fish because they lived in the mountains. They had goats, they drank goat milk. They had cows, they drank cow's milk. They made cheese and butter. And no matter where he went, they were perfectly healthy as long as they ate whole food, as long as they didn't mess with it, as long as they didn't process it or turn it into frankenfood. Humans can survive on a wide variety of different foods. The problem we've gotten into is we've added too much grain, too much legumes, we process too much, everything is sugary, we have the high fructose corn syrups and the agave and all these different things that we never got in those amounts from nature. So there's the problem. So that's the paleo diet in a nutshell. That's the idea behind it. Can you use it religiously and get good results? Absolutely, go for it. Can you use it as a template? I think that's that's how I look at it. I look at it as a great metaphor to start understanding why certain things might be good for us and why certain things might be creating a lot of damage. So the take-home message is, use it any way you like. It's a great metaphor for understanding what foods might be suitable and what might not. But in the end, you eat whole foods you avoid processed foods, and you eat it in the freshest and most natural state that you can. If you enjoy this sort of content, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell, and please share this content with as many people as you can, because this channel is about health, it's about life, it's about saving lives and quality of life. So help us get this message out and help us save lives. Thanks for watching.